Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Janae, if you may not know. And this is Psych, it's Janae, where I talk about a lot of things, psychology, and a lot of other things just not. I won't lie to you though, this is gonna take some getting used to. I think this is about my 17th take on just the intro. And I'm trying to get used to it because what I like to do, I speak a lot and then I just go off on tangents. I gotta be a little bit more structured. I kind of have my notes to help me stay on topic, but I be going, and I'm so excited, so I gotta relax. I am going to give you a disclaimer. I am not a licensed psychologist yet. I am a student. I am about to enter my second year, and then I'll have 3 more years until I'll be done with school, and then maybe 1 year postdoc when I could be licensed. However, I want to share this journey with you, and we're going to start with this topic today. Why clinical psychology? I'm not even gonna hold you. I don't even know why I chose this topic because I don't even have an answer for you. Not a straight, narrow answer where it's just like, oh, I always wanted to be that all my life. Nah, that was never it. We gonna put this spiritually. I feel like this is where I was always supposed to be, but I had to do everything I did all of my life to get here. And this is why I am 36, transitioning out of legal and real estate and sales and going into clinical psychology. This journey has been a very different journey. When I tell you different, like, I've always been someone who's been ambitious, and I've always been that person that says, if I say I'm gonna do something, it's gonna get done. I'll wake up and tell somebody, yeah, I'm about to sell like 100 sneakers this weekend, and you're gonna see me on the corner selling 100 sneakers. Like, I've just always been one person who, if I made up my mind, I'm doing it. So let's talk about how I got here. I feel like who I am as a person and how I see people, how I relate to people, how I make them feel, it made me feel confident in believing that this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. I've dealt with a plethora of personalities that I didn't even know existed until I became an adult. Which I think is most of us, right? Like, especially if we're a millennial, I think we spent plenty of years just boiling down personalities and watering them down to like alcoholism, addiction, drug addiction, and just people that's just losing their mind, but not really understanding the different layers of losing your mind and what that could be. It was just like a broad statement to describe people who are different from us. Like, even when I think about children in elementary school, like the ones who probably were rambunctious or wild, couldn't stay seated in their seat, class clown. Those are just labels we gave. We never had the resources or like, I don't know, like the vocabulary, the words to really frame it and say like that child.
I was
has
really just
ADHD
trying to
or
convey
that
the
child has
disparities in
autism,
education
especially
between
as
black
an
and white
African
people
American
in
in
this
this country.
country. Just
Like
highlighting the fact
I
that black
now
people, we are
that
far
I'm in
behind
school
in our
and
understanding and our
seeing
knowledge
like
of mental and behavioral
how
disorders,
many,
whereas white people always had that
let's just
privilege.
say
They've
like
been
white people
advanced
are
and
just
had
well
the
advanced
opportunity to even
and
have education.
understanding that and
So that's what
knowing
I was
that
trying
and
to
having that
highlight. It didn't
knowledge.
come
And
out
as
right,
an
but
African
yeah, that's what I was
American,
trying to say.
no. Yeah, so back to clinical psychology. So we know clinical psychology is under the general scope of psychology. Psychology works with mind and behavior. Clinical psychology, though, is focusing on pretty much assessing and diagnosing mental, behavioral, and emotional disorders. So it's more so like just dealing with all the clinical aspects of psychology. And it's so funny because one of the reasons I got here, I did my master's program in psychology. I decided, you know, I want more for myself. I want to continue school. Let me do my master's program. However, and this is for anyone who's thinking about really taking this full throttle and maybe you want to do assessments and stuff like that. I did my master's program just as a let me do additional schooling. However, I didn't do enough research to realize that maybe I could have gone into social work and started my career way sooner than what I'm doing right now, right? Because if I would have done social work, I probably would have did about 2 years within a master's program and a year into clinical, so maybe 3 years. And I'll be able to be working right now. By now, I would be able to work. But I didn't do that research, so I kind of blindsided myself. And I realized, like, if I want to do anything with this master's degree in psychology, I'm really going to have to get my doctorate anyway. But it's okay. It is perfectly fine, because when I was in undergrad, guess what? This ambitious girl was like, yeah, I'm going to have people call me Dr. Parker. So, man, it took some time, and I took a little break. I'll give y'all that. We're here. I'm on a road. And y'all will be calling me Dr. Parker very soon. Very soon, honey. Very soon. But no, so listen. I messed up with the master's program. Yes, I did graduate and I got my master's degree, but because I'm transitioning from a legal background, like, a master's degree is just a degree. What am I going to do with that? And I'm speaking specifically for someone who is very used to living a certain life, who is very used to making a certain amount of money. I can't just wake up one day, transition into a different career and be like, well, I have a master's degree in psychology. Y'all already know how jobs are nowadays. They already asking for 10 years of experience for 18-year-olds. So they gonna look at me and be like, oh, you got a psychology degree. What you trying to do with that, mamas? Where's your license? You want to be a therapist? What you want to do? Shoot. I should just be a little counselor on TikTok or Instagram and call it a day, because that'll work. Shout out to counselors, because listen, everybody's going through something. We all need somebody. I don't care if it's just one person saying the right thing at the right time. But anyway, that's how I got to the point where I'm like, I need to get a doctorate degree. But I did not want to get a doctorate degree in psychology. I said, you know what? You're going to do your research this time. You're going to do your research this time. And I got an actual joke. Because while I was doing my master's, I have a friend who had a friend at the time who was in a doctorate program for clinical psychology. And I was looking up psychologists who make the most money, and it was clinical psychologists. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just apply for that next year. This is like 2023. Yeah, because I got my master's in 2024. So this was 2023. But my friend gave me her friend's number, and I was like, let me connect with her and just see, like, what the clinical psychology road is like, how she's doing. And I'm like, yeah. So we're in 2023. It's probably, like, March at this point. And I'm like, yeah, when I'm done with my master's next year, I'm just going to apply, like, right after, so I can get into a clinical program. She's like, oh, so you're trying to get into a clinical program, like, 2024? I'm like, yeah. She's like, nah, you got to apply this year. I was like, in 2023 to get into a program in 2024? She's like, yeah, boo. I was like, but why is that? Like, masters and undergrad, you just be signing up on the internet like, yeah, I want to go to school in like 3 weeks. And they be like, all right. She was like, nah. Not for these type of programs. You got to do that in advance. I went in a rabbit hole of research. I swear to God, I did not know I was that ignorant to this whole process. And I'm going to do a whole nother video on that process. The process of getting into a PsyD program is insane, which made me also think about how much we don't know. And we don't even know we don't know it, which is such a disadvantage, especially when you just think about Black and brown people and how we've already been robbed of education for how many years. And then you still have people who are first-generation grads in undergrad school, like in 2025, first-generation grads. And it's just like their family wouldn't even know how to guide them. So that's part of also why I am very happy to be in this field, because part of my research was I wanted to look up how many African-American clinical psychologists there were that were licensed. Bro, we're in 3 to 5%. 2025, and we have 3 to 5% licensed clinical psychologists at a time where children are not even developing at the same pace that they were developing when I was growing up, and a lot of them are Black and brown children. And you're telling me only 3 to 5% of clinical psychologists are Black and brown? So you automatically don't even have enough clinical psychologists to serve the population of Black and brown children who may need to be assessed and diagnosed. And then we struggle talking about how research don't even cater to us. But it's like, bro, we don't even have the people licensed who's willing to do the research that look like us. We only 3 to 5%. And a lot of people were just telling me like, oh, you should do social work. And I'm glad my journey ended up being the way it is. I'm gonna tell you one thing. I do not like social work. I didn't know that at the time when people were telling me this, but now that I know more what social work entails, and yes, it could look very similar to what a clinical psychologist does, but like I said, I could have graduated in 3 years, right? I could promise you at the end of that 3-year mark, if I would have went right into the field doing the social work, I probably would have stopped. Even when you hear about social workers and what they do, therapists, for instance, they are so burnt out. They are so burnt out. And also another disclaimer, I don't necessarily want to be a therapist when I'm done with this degree. That is not my goal. I don't care to be a therapist. I don't mind doing it as a side hustle because I'm a hustler. But my biggest thing, I want to do assessments. I want to assess and diagnose children. Now I want to assess and diagnose children. At first I wanted to do adults, but we'll get into that. But yeah, I think I really appreciate the journey because I'm like, yo, I could not do social work. And then dealing with the systems, education system, the government system, like all of that is social work. I'd be drained. I would be drained. I don't know if I could see myself doing that, but let me tell you, shout out to the social workers for real. Shout out to the social workers. They be doing a damn great job, and I know it'd be a lot. I know it'd be heavy, and I know I'm gonna be right in that same spot. I know at some point in my career, I know I'm gonna be in that same spot, and they don't get enough credit. They work hard. But yeah, that's just what clinical psychology entails. And I guess I went back to the hustler I am, trying to first seek what part of psychology or in what area of psychology can I make the most money? Can I have the most freedom in like developing my own practice, working for myself and still do well? And clinical psychology came up, and I was just like, okay, well, let's get the going. Let's do that. And I'm gonna have another video of my applications like I mentioned. I applied to different programs, and I just chose the one that was school psychology and clinical child psychology, because I feel like school psychology, if I decided to go through that route, who wouldn't love working in a school? You know, and depending on where you're at, you can get paid very well, very well. But to have all of the summers off, the holidays off, just being off every time the kids are off, yeah, sign me up. If that's where I start, sign me up. And then on top of that, it's like I'm getting that experience, the school psychology. I'll get my school psychology master's as well in this program that I'm in. And then doing clinical child psychology, I enjoy now. I did not want to work with kids. I barely even wanted to have a kid. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But working with kids, I said no. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, in order for me to understand an adult, say if I'm like working with an adult as a psychologist, in order for me to understand an adult, I have to really understand the development of children. How a child develops, trauma, what that looks like in them, how they identify with themselves. You really have to understand a child to understand an adult. So I was just like, you know what? The program chose me, had my name on it. I'm not going to be mad. I'm not mad at it at all. And that's just how I got here. Like, I wanted more for myself. I got to a point where I was just really tired of hustling and just not feeling like what I was doing with work was meaningful. And to be honest, I think with real estate, it was one point where I loved real estate. I loved it so much. And then I realized I'm on the same side of the problem. I'm just as bad as the developer that's encouraging, or I should say making a pathway for gentrification. I'm just as bad as the landlord that want to say no to black or brown people or people who have bad credit. I'm just as bad. Like, as a realtor, we are just a vessel. We get people and then we get them in the door, but we don't really have that much leverage when it comes to making a difference in the community. We don't. Developers do, landlords do, but realtors, no, we just found an apartment for you. And that's what it felt like for me. That's what it felt like for me. Because I did so well in Brooklyn prior to COVID, I was just like, oh, this is fire. And then I was making so much money. Like, I was making so much money because I was doing real estate and Uber. Child, I was seeing the bread. But it was just like, I was just chasing the money. Like, it just felt like, it felt appropriate for my 20s. In your 20s, you just really trying to see where you want to be and make money and just have a good life and whatever. But once I became a mom, I was like, okay, things got to get real. Things got to be more meaningful, purposeful. And speaking of being a mom, I didn't even mention this. My son is autistic and he has speech delay. When I tell you, nothing felt like more validation in knowing that I am where I'm supposed to be outside, like being accepted into my program. I'm like, great. Now I can be an advocate for my son because I know exactly what he's experiencing because I'm studying this. I am studying this, and it's just like, it couldn't be more perfect of a time. So it feels like I'm supporting my child, but growing with him too, and growing with myself. I don't even have the words. It just feels like this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. So I already know I'm gonna do the 5 years, no doubt. But I'm just happy to be here, and I'm excited to be on this journey. And I can't believe I'm going into my 2nd year. Like, I am literally 3 years away from being called a doctor. But, and that's another thing. Why PsyD? I guess I just told you guys why PsyD over PhD. I don't want to do research. We're going to do clinical. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I feel like I'm built for this. I've always been empathetic. I'm very understanding. I became more patient when I became a mom, but it's been a gift and a curse on how many times I give people a chance. And the reason I give people a chance with me, which people may say like, oh, they playing with you. I don't get offended easily. Like, unless you outright disrespecting me, wasting my time or something like that, I don't get offended easily when people display who they are. I just really see it as they are who they are because of what they've been through. I don't know the full story. But what I do know is I have enough love to give. I have enough patience within myself to hear them out. And I'm not really trying to be in someone's face hoping I get something in return. Every interaction I have with another human, I want you to leave knowing that I made you feel good. And a lot of people may disagree with that. But that's just who I am as a person. Like, I'm coming with the vibes. I'm coming to be respectful. I'm coming to be loving. And I'm coming to have a good time. And to me, it's just not that hard. Like, I don't live through survival where it's like, oh my God, I can't give myself because what if they take from me and then they do me wrong? I don't live like that. I don't know that side of life. And I'm going to be honest with you. I had to do a lot of work to tell myself, like, it's okay if you can't relate to some people. Like, I cannot relate to people who move out of survival. I don't come from them type of spots. Like, I move out of love. That's all I have. And I just feel like that's a great person to have on the other side of the table when you need to be assessed, diagnosed, or you just need to talk about what the hell you're going through. I ain't gonna lie, I'll be judgy. But it's not to the point where it's going to impact how I treat you. You need someone like me to help you understand yourself better. I'm not saying like just like me, but I'm also saying that. But I'm just saying that is the whole point of having a great psychologist, right? So we can help you know yourself better and pretty much navigate through this world, through all of your mental health, behavioral health, and emotional health issues. Like, that is the whole point. But like I said, I'm excited. I'm rambling now. But y'all can catch me on the next video. I upload every Sunday. I did something fun with my makeup. Don't. That's why I'm not in the beauty industry, because, child, what I be doing. But, yeah. Tell me what you guys think. Let me know if you want to talk about what y'all want to talk about. But, yeah, bye, y'all. Thanks for stopping by the office. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.